You're listening to the High School Football Coaches Podcast by MaxPreps, Episode 2. And we welcome you into the High School Football Coaches Podcast. I am Steve Montoya, and it's Super Bowl season, so we thought this podcast would be extra special if we could talk to one of the coaches of one of the stars in the Super Bowl. And so we're going to be talking to head coach Mazi Moayed, who coached Jared Goff at Marin Catholic. Marin Catholic is located about 20 miles outside San Francisco. Coach Moayed has led the Wildcats to 7 undefeated league championships, 3 North Coast section championships, and he went to a state championship with Jared Goff in 2012. So this podcast is going to be about what it's like to coach a special player like Jared Goff and some advice for the coaches out there when you do have a player like him, and what makes Jared Goff so special and why he's such a good alumni for the school. So we're honored to have Coach Moayed on with us. Well, hey, Coach, first of all, thanks for being with us on the High School Football Coaches Podcast. And I imagine it's a very exciting time right now at Marin Catholic as one of your former players gets to shine on the big stage.
Very exciting time. Heck, couldn't be more exciting and more proud.
What is Jared Goff's relationship with the school since he left? Do all the kids at the school know that one of their former players is going to be the starting quarterback this weekend in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, not just at our school, in our whole county, the whole community. It's pretty neat. It's sort of like when Tom Brady was going. I'm not comparing him to Tom Brady, but
yeah,
the whole Northern California community sort of was, hey, Tom Brady, one of ours is going. Now we got 2 of ours there.
Yeah, how crazy
which
is
that? Pretty amazing.
Yeah, how crazy is
awesome.
that basically two schools, I don't know, less than an hour from each other are producing 2 quarterbacks who both idolized Joe Montana growing up. Now they're both playing. Is there a little rivalry like, hey, this is a Sarah kid going up against a Marin Catholic, or is it just, man, it's amazing to see 2 kids from the Bay Area. Well, I guess they're not kids anymore, growing up and now playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's amazing. No rivalry between the schools. Schools really don't play each other. I'm friends with the current head coach there, Patrick Walsh, and we sort of made a little sidebar deal bet
nice.
that if depending on whose side wins, the other coach, principal, and president have to wear the opposite team swag.
I like that one.
Put it on Twitter.
Nice. Well, we'll be looking for that.
Makes it fun.
Sure.
Makes it fun.
Yeah, definitely. So Coach, before we get into some more questions, I want to just kind of throw some rapid fire questions at you and get your take before I ask you some questions more about just your coaching and your relationship with Jared. And so I'm going to fire some questions at you. All right. So if you had a chance to have dinner with a college or pro coach, who would you have dinner with?
Right now, man, I get to pick one pro coach.
Any coach you could have dinner with right now to pick his brain.
You're really getting after me here.
Yeah, exactly.
Belichick's usually always been that guy, but right now I think the hot guy is Sean McVay.
Yeah.
So he's the hottest guy on the block, and so is the rest of his staff. So
for sure.
I think he'd have to be the guy right now, just to see what they've done to get that quick turnaround, get to the big game like they have in such a short time.
Yeah, definitely. All right, number 2, your favorite sports memory as a player for yourself.
Um, Man, favorite sports memory. Shoot. Um, I would just say, the if it's a play on the field, it was when I was in junior college at College of Marin. I made a big play in the end zone versus Shasta Junior College, and
Nice.
had one of those wow hits, in the end zone. I played safety.
Okay.
On the field it'd be that, but off the field it's just you know um, the camaraderie, the brotherhood amongst our team.
Yeah, for sure.
At the time. So just a lot of close guys, and some continue to stay in touch. So yeah,
Awesome. All right, when not coaching football, you prefer to be doing what?
spend time with my wife.
Good
You know,
answer. Good answer, for sure. All right, key mentor for you as a coach.
um, man, I've had a number of them. Um, Ben Partee, who was my junior college coach, actually he was Marin Catholic alum as well. I really looked up to him. I never ever dreamed of coaching or thought about coaching ever in my life. And he was one of the guys that I started off modeling myself after when I did start coaching. He and I would bounce things off him, and another gentleman was Pete Lim at the time, a longtime county coach here, and he was athletic director as well at College Marin. But those were two guys I started off learning a lot from, and things grew from there, and connected with many other coaches since.
Yep. All right, last one, and I know this one could go on forever, but why do you coach?
Um, I love football. I love the sport. I love what I've gotten out of it. I love what I've been able to just learn in life. You know, Competing, I think as an athlete, just it's something that's in your blood, and as a player, you start to lose something once you step away. As a coach, that carries on, but a whole new world opens up when you start to coach. It's also another family. That's something I think everybody searches for all the time in life, is to belong. But it's the ultimate platform to be able to serve and teach and be part of something that's bigger than just yourself. It's and that's why I love it.
Nice. All right, Coach, off the hot seat. Let's let's get into some questions now, and thanks for answering those for us. And let's go back to the first time you saw Jared Goff as a kid on campus, or whenever you first saw him as a coach, and what was that like? Do you remember that? Do you remember thinking this kid is going to be special, or were you thinking, here's another kid I got? I mean, really, what were you thinking the first time you saw Jared Goff?
Initially, I was thinking here's a tall, skinny kid with some talent, making things look easy.
Yeah.
That's what I initially saw when he was a freshman here at Marin Catholic and throwing the ball. From there, just naturally comes the other questions. Here's a guy with you know outstanding talent. A father who's played Major League Baseball. Those things. But you question, hey, is he tough? Does he have a good attitude? Is he coachable? Is he going to be a hard worker? Is he going to be a prima donna?
Right.
Is his father going to try to be overly involved or not? All those other questions and the intangibles that you look for, um, you know, what I mean, were answered the following year when he came up to the varsity team.
And as a player, as Goff grew up in your program, was he similar to what you see on TV now? Just this guy that just seems like if he threw a pick or threw a game-winning touchdown, he'd have the same look on his face.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, he's ultra competitive. I mean, ultimate competitor. I mean, he's very tough-minded and loves to compete. But yeah, he had that calm, cool demeanor about him where, he's throwing strikes, he's fired up, but for the moment, and
Yeah.
then onward. Same thing with when he makes mistakes. He's probably a little bit ticked, maybe for a little bit more than a moment, and then it's onward. Let's go. That's been one of his strengths throughout his whole career, is to be able to have that great recovery as a elite athlete. And I think that's what makes him special, that calm and coolness and being able to bounce back and move forward.
Yeah, and for you as a coach, and for just coaches out there in general, when you have, potentially a star in the making or just a kid who's special, for you as a coach, does your mind change, your philosophy change on how you're running your offense or wherever the position he plays, or is it you got to stick to what you're doing, or sometimes you just have to adjust based on sometimes we just got a kid that's so special we got to adjust what we do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think you always have to adjust what you do, given what you have. I think you have you know, your system, but it's got to be flexible enough to where you focus on which part of the system you're going to focus on according to the talent you have. And with Jared, he allows you to be able to do a lot of things, but everything sort of revolved around him at the same time.
Right.
With what we did, he made everyone relevant. He made everybody better. Around him, he made our linemen better. He made our receivers better. He made our backs better. He made our defense better. He was constantly trying to be the scout team quarterback to compete against those guys with the backups.
Yeah.
To stick it to him. But as far as the system went, yeah, we revolved around him. And the other thought, when you get a player like that, and he's beyond talent, he's a special guy in character and just as an individual. You really, part of you as a coach, sees how much this guy cares and loves the game and loves his team and the love for each other, and you just don't want to let him down. And that really drives you is the fear of, hey, I can't let this kid down. I got to turn over every leaf, and we as a staff got to work hard to make sure we give this kid and the rest of the guys our best and then some.
Yeah, and speaking of your staff, I know you have a background in being a safety and being a defensive-minded guy. Is that, as a head coach with that background, I know obviously you're involved in the offense, but do you rely a lot on your quarterback coach, your offense coordinator, whoever it may be, are you guys talking all the time about, hey, we got this kid, we can't let him down, we got to build our offense around him? Is it really, as a head coach, do you rely a lot on your assistant coaches to drive that as well?
That's a good question. I'm the offensive coordinator, and I work with the quarterbacks.
Oh, okay, so I
yeah,
should have done my research more, man.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Early on when I started to coach here, I had a coach that helped with quarterbacks a little bit and did a good job, but it was, the role was, hey, just let's work mechanics. I'll work with his head. You work the mechanics. And, and I'd also call the plays. And then later on when he had departed, I just continued to, I took over the mechanics part as well, and working with that. But, I think as a play caller and offensive coordinator, that relationship with the trigger man is so important. He's an extension of you on the field. And, sometimes unless you trust a third party with your life,
You're right.
things get lost in translations, here and there, depending on, the team or program. But for us, that's how it's worked out.
Yeah. So let me re-ask that question. As an offensive coordinator, how fun is it for you as a coach to have a player like that? Is it just,
Oh, it's great.
man, we can do so many things.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and it makes it that much more exciting. And the other part that I think is overlooked is he makes other guys so much better.
Right.
Average receiver, he can hit in stride on separation at the right time, and the guy now is making an explosive play where all those little things have to be right, and the quarterback helps that out so much, on being on time with the throw and being accurate like he is. Um, so and now you see other guys' confidence grow and their swagger grow. When you got a guy like Jared, it just like I said, he makes everyone better.
Yeah, and one thing, Coach, you're hearing a lot about this now is kids specializing in one sport and focusing on one sport early, and that didn't seem to be the case for Jared. It's probably could have played any sport at the school, but I know he played baseball, he played some basketball. And for you as a coach, is that something you support as kids? If they got the talent, they should be playing other sports in high school.
100%. We're a smaller size school, 750 plus kids at our school enrollment. We'll play the bigger schools, compete against them, but we don't. Two things. One, we don't have. We're co-ed, but we don't have enough just male athletes for everybody to specialize around here. So we really encourage that. But even apart from that, I think it's so important for athletes to play multiple sports, especially their first couple years in high school, just to have the cross training. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to be good at, or what you're in love with or passionate about quite yet. Um, and the burnout factor and
Yeah.
and injuries, repetitive motion. We've had a lot of guys and from some other sports, have short and long term injuries from playing a sport year round, and it's tough. It's tough to see, and even more so, it's if something doesn't work out and they've invested everything they could early on. It's just you know um, the effects of that are tough on the young guys as well. Um, you know, I think as they get you know to the junior or senior year, if they're going to be a scholarship player and hey, I'm getting a scholarship to go to Cal, I want to minimize my risk, with
Right. Yeah.
with my off season and playing other sports. I'm not going to play rugby to, take a chance to jacking my shoulder up
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
doing those kinds of things. Then, now it's an investment, that's worthwhile.
Yep. 100%. Finally, Coach, just kind of want to ask your advice to other coaches around the country. And I know we've hit on this a little bit, but if there's coaches out there that are in that situation where they know they got, a special piece, a special talent, and some coaches are fortunate to have that every year, but most they come around here and there. What's your advice for coaches out there when you know you got a potential, maybe even an NFL player, or 4 or 5 star kid or whatever? Any extra advice you have for those coaches as they
Um,
prepare for their season?
I mean, everyone works so hard as a coach and to prepare and do the best they can, and that's everyone's ultimate goal is to do the best they can, be the best they can be. I think when they have that special piece, just to remind yourself to, remember who you are, remind the kid who he is, and be yourself, coach within that, and really help the athlete continue to be themselves and build on that, not try to model after somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. Find out, obviously, the kids, talent and skill set and feed that, what I mean, adjust to that. But you don't want to really, there's no time to reinvent yourself or change everything you do, for just, for the sake of it. Sometimes guys, feel like they have to do something different or something more. But the most important thing is continuity within yourself and then within your program.
Right, for sure. Well, Coach, we appreciate your time, and hopefully you won't be wearing Patriots gear coming up.
No.
But maybe we'll see it on Twitter. We'll see. Congrats on your success at Marin Catholic, and thank you again for taking time with us.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, well, we thank Coach Moayed for joining us. How special is that? One of your former players is the starting quarterback at such a young age, and he's playing another quarterback that grew up not far from him, that both idolized Joe Montana. Now they're both on the big stage, and one of the head coaches will be in the gear of the other team for the Super Bowl. So thanks again to Coach Moayed. I am Steve Montoya, and thanks for listening to the High School Football Coaches Podcast by MaxPreps.